Hey, I'm Greg Pimlott. I'm the pastor of Main Street United Methodist Church. Today's chapter of Rediscover Jesus, which is the book that our church is using as our daily Lenten devotional, is called The Gap. And in this chapter, the author, Matthew Kelly, uses the H word, hypocrite. It's one of the most common criticisms of Christians and churches. There's a gap between what you teach and what you do. There's a gap between the gospel you proclaim and the way that you live your daily life. And Matthew Kelly, the author of the book, basically says, yeah, guilty as charged. Because there is a gap for all of us between how God would have us live and how we actually do live. And he says the way that we close the gap is to get close to Jesus. We United Methodists talk about the idea of sanctification, which is exactly this process of getting close to Jesus. And the very important thing to realize is that we don't sanctify ourselves. The process of sanctification in our lives, which is also sometimes called holiness or being made holy, is a form of grace. It comes to us from God through Jesus. It's not something that we can give ourselves. It's not something that we can get for ourselves, but we can organize our lives so that we spend more time brushing up against Jesus, so to speak, so that more of our life is devoted to closing that gap. In the chapter, Matthew Kelly suggests an exercise. Listen to the gospel being read in church on Sunday morning and ask yourself, how much would my life change if I lived out this gospel reading completely? And he says every time he does that, the answer is, wow, a whole lot. I'm really not living up to the gospel. If you decide to try this exercise, I want you to promise me that once you do that, you pray two things. The first is, God, please help me live out this teaching from the Bible more fully, because it's only by your grace that I can do so. And the second is, God, thank you for loving me completely, even though I don't completely live up to your expectations. Because the difference between the gap and God's love is grace. And grace is what it's all about, friends. We'll talk more tomorrow.